Let us turn our Bibles to Hebrews chapter 11 and let me read verse 33 and 34. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 33 and 34. Who through faith conquered kingdoms, enforced justice, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lion, quenched the power of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, were made strong out of the weakness, became mighty in war, put foreign armies to flight. See, it is like we have been hearing so long, and the series called Faith is the Greatest Power. See, it's like we have started in Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1, and today we are in verse 33. In 33 again, it is been known to us, it is like 9 statements are being present in verse 33 and in 34. We have completed 33, the verse, the first statement, it talks about who through faith conquered kingdoms. Israelites, through faith, they have conquered kingdoms. We have seen how they have conquered kingdoms and what faith have played a major role in conquering the kingdom. So this all we have seen and we have understood through God, and the faith they had in God, that have helped them to, come up and conquer the kingdoms which is present on that particular time to reach the promised land. So these all are the things that we have seen, and by today we are trying to enter into the second statement. It is like enforced justice. See, the first thing is like the Israelites, they could able to conquer the kingdoms and they could able to come into the promised land which God have promised them. And there are 3 different theories that we have seen, like how they could able to come and conquer the kingdoms. On the way to Canaan, there are so many kingdoms they have conquered. It's like Jericho, the city was there, and there are so many other kings, the Israelites, they have conquered under the leadership of Joshua. So these are all the things have happened in one particular period of time, and sometime the strongest problem, the biggest problem, and they may be thinking how we are going to cross this, how we are able to, we are going to overcome this. These kind of problems have been easily sorted out when they had faith on God. And there are some problems, that seems like very easy, and they may be thinking we could able to go and overcome. There are quite a few people, so there is no need of getting all the people. And in the Bible you could able to see there is no faith statement and there is no declaration of believing in God and all and so on. By that time you could able to see they have been end up in failure. If there is a big problem, they could able to overcome through faith that they had in God. And sometimes the problems are very small, but by the same time they could not able to come out with the problem. Why? Because they have slipped away from God. They have not having the faith on God as they had earlier, and that may have become a lesson to them. And then they have been settling things up, and they try to able to come up with again, and they have won their kingdoms. And now they have settled in the promised land. Now they are okay. They have been, the lands have been distributed to them through Joshua. So now in this situation, see, the author of Hebrews try to tell us these people, they have enforced justice. See, we have been trying to see from how these people have been doing justice, or they have been practicing justice when they have entered the promised land. See, sometimes there may be different kinds of understanding, and there may be different kinds of questions sometime. How these Israelites people, they could able to come and they could able to settle in a land, and what all are the perspectives and what all are the reasons behind that. And sometimes the people from the other nation, they may be raising a question how people may come and tell that this is the promised land which God have given to us, and how they could able to send the people, the local people out, and how they could able to settle up. These are similar questions, and we have answered how they have settled up and what all are the possibilities of settling up in a nation, and how this could have happened. So these are things that we have seen, and if possible slightly today we may be also touching when we try to understand about the political scenario of the Israelites when they have started living in Canaan. So by the time also we could slightly able to understand what is the structure, what is the system that this Israelites have been trying to follow to enforce justice in the land. See, it's not like enforce justice. It is means like, when there are some kind of people. See, when they have been out somewhere, doesn't have any kind of power and authority. Sometime, they may be speaking all the just things, all the good things. These all are the proposals. So this should be happened. This has to be done. Things like that will be will be coming out by some people in some particular time when they doesn't have anything in the hand, but everything have come to them. They will suddenly turn upside down, and they will be practicing what all are the olden things have been practiced. See, but here the Israelites life is not like that. See, it is a contradiction here again. See, it is like these Israelites. See, sometimes the people, they may be outside, you could able to see they may be not following anything. They may not be following the rules and regulations of the country. Sometime they may be living like a free man. Free man, it means like nothing. They are not following anything at all. No rules and regulations. They will not obey at any cost. They will be simply living like anything. But when something have come to them, when some position have given to them, some responsibility have given to them, definitely they may be act like they are so holy. They have come up from somewhere, but people in their midst they may be saying, oh, you fellow, you have been talking somewhere out, like these all are the things that you should not able to do. But when you have come here, now you are trying to tell these all are the things that has to be done. So what is right and what is wrong? The people may have questions in midst of us. But in the case of Israelites, it's not like that. See, it's like when they were out somewhere, they are not proper, they are not obedient, they are not doing anything up to the mark. Now after coming immediately inside the promised land, now they have started doing all the just things. It's not like that. See, the Israelites, they had the practice of doing all the justice earlier, according to how God have given them. Sometimes they may fail, sometimes they miss, sometimes they are not up to the mark, but sometimes they are also doing that again. That needs to be addressed. But again, when they come to the promised land, they could able to continue the good things which they have been doing earlier. Already also they are obeying God. Already also they have been hearing the voice of the God, and they have been walking in the wilderness, and they have a practice which is been directly against to the world. These all things are present earlier itself. And when they have come to the promised land, Canaan, and now see, they could able to follow more vigorously or more particularly about the rules and regulations of God. See, the sermon today which we are going to see, this will help us to understand our life. We need to think our life sometime, who we are, what are my thoughts are, what is my understanding towards God. Now, what is my understanding towards the politics? What is the understanding towards the money, the economy that we have? Every family is having budget. Every family, they have some kind of power-related things. So you need to think who you are, and who you are is being projected by the ideology that you have. Sometimes it's like, the representation of a human being is the ideology behind the human being. See, if I'm here and I could able to preach, and what I preach, it has some kind of concept, it has some kind of ideology. So like that, all the actions are also related with the idea. The actions are also related with the concept. So like that, the human life itself, the human being itself is being molded, it's been binded, it's been covered. He or she, they have been covered or binded with the ideas, concepts and so on. And that is how they could able to reflect. It's not a simple kind of thing. They could able to, speak something, and they could able to think something. It's not like that. If they think something, and definitely they have been speaking that. And if they are speaking something and you could able to think, and this is what they have been thinking of. So in this lineup, we need to understand who we are, and that will help us to understand, our lives much better, and by the same time this will have some kind of connection to understand with the Bible again. See, it's like what ideology we have, or what ideology I have, towards my life, and for different areas are there in our lives, right? Today we are going to see about three areas. One is about the religious view, the political view, and then the economic view. And in all these three, plays a major role in making a human being, making a man or woman as a human being. These three views helping a human being, to be who they are. So these all are the things are there. So in that connection, let us try to understand what all are the perspectives that Bible is talking about the Israelites, the people of God. And that is how you could also able to think of your thinking, what the political thinking that you have, and what economic thinking that you have, and what is your religious thinking that you have towards God, and what is your idea between you and God. And these things, when we try to connect both the stuffs, and that will help you to mold your life in a meaningful way. See, sometimes people may be thinking, see, it's like faith is a different thing and action is a different thing. See, it's not like that. Faith and actions, both are on the same track. See, if you have been having faith, definitely you need to do some action which should connect with the faith. If you have been having some faith, and that should reflect through action. If it is not reflecting, your faith is not reflecting in the action, and definitely, see, the faith is not to the mark. See, it's like if you have been having faith on a particular issue, then definitely you need to reflect those faith through action. And if you have been acting in that way, that will give you a good understanding of faith in a particular side, and a good understanding of your life, and you would be a blessing to so many others. See, it's like that. See, sometimes if it is read like that, it's like the Israelites, they have enforced justice. See, it's like all the people, sometimes they may be telling like, doing justice, speaking of justice, sometimes it will not match. See, the world has a different idea about justice. See, the world itself, you could able to see, people have started saying that, my justice is denied. If two are fighting, one will definitely say, my justice is denied. And people have come to a level like, justice could not be seen anywhere. And it is like other category of people, they think like, they could able to buy justice. There are a group of people. So these all are the different scenarios that you could able to see in the world. But Bible, it talks about justice. The Israelites people, they have enforced justice in the land. And that is, what the author of Hebrews, he tries to tell, that happened through faith. See, that is what I am trying to tell. These Israelites people, they had faith on God to enforce justice, and that is an action-oriented thing. It is not like, kind of only, faith oriented thing. They have been believing on God on like this, and they have not stopped over there, but rather they could able to execute something. They could able to come up with the idea or the faith what they had on God, and they could able to execute that. That is what God also have given to them. God have given them certain rules and regulations, which is been very opposite to the world. The world may having a different kind of structure. World may having a different kind of practice, but God is giving them a set of rules that is being a direct opposite to the world. World is having all kinds of rules and regulations, and that is not matching with the Bible. But sometimes people will be also saying, see, you have to be lined up with the world. There are some proverbs, there are some sayings, like, you should go with the world. You should not take an opposite stand. If the current is something like, in a way, and you also need to take on that way. If you are not taking on that stand, definitely people will start to criticize you. See, but here the Israelites people, it seems that they have not worried for anything. The neighboring world, the nations, they are having a different rules, a different set of rules and regulations. But these Israelites, they try to the Israelites, they try to have a different kind of understanding. The Israelites, they are having a understanding, on the religious, political, economic things are entirely different, which is being compared to the other nations which have been present, on their time. But they have been very ready to do that. And how they could able to do that? This have happened only because of faith. Without faith, this could not able to happen. Without having faith on God, these things could not able to happen. If they have not been having faith on God, if they could not able to believe on God, they could not have a different kinds of religious perspective, the economic perspective, the political perspective. Why? Because all the other world, the other nations are been having differently, and what is the need of the Israelites, they need to have very differently. It's like, why they have been having very differently? Why? Because this is God given. And why they have been enforcing that? And because they are believing on God, and the rules and regulations which God have given to them, that itself is just. It's not like man have articulated. Sometimes some human beings can articulate the rules and regulations. Sometimes great leaders they have done. They wrote constitutions. They could able to have a right way of understanding. They have done very politely and gently, speaking the truth, equality, justice has been ensured. But sometime in some places, if you in the olden period in particular, if you could able to see that the kings and the others, they may be establishing their own gods, and they may be establishing their rules and regulations. Sometime and many times it will be like supporting to a particular group, and they may be not the weaker section of the society, rather they may be the affluent section of the society, and it will be the rules and regulations which human beings sometimes they try to articulate, that may have ended with unjust. It's not appropriate. It has not been equally divided or equally shared. These are all things that you could able to see. But God have done. If God is been doing, God is giving certain rules and regulations, and definitely that would be just. Definitely God's rules and regulations are equal to all people. God doesn't have any partiality. Sometimes people may be thinking, some human beings may have some partiality. But definitely God, he doesn't have any partiality. God will not have any partiality. So the rules and regulation, if it comes from God, definitely you can close your eyes and believe that definitely this could be a just thing. This could be an appropriate thing. See, you have to check whether this is from God or what. And it should not from some other God. And if that case, definitely you should not close your eyes and say, okay, you need to be very careful on watching it. Very careful to see it, whether this rules and you need to have some dialogue, you need to have some discussions, the analysis is needed over there. But if it is definitely from God, you could able to believe that this is from God, then there is no problem at all. If it is God given, then definitely that would be the just thing that you could able to see in your entire lifetime. So these people, Israelites, they called as God's people, and these Israelites have taken some rules and regulations from God, and they try to enforce that in the land. See, through faith. See, the first thing is like, see, the religious view, the Israelites, they had a different kind of rules and regulations for them. See, in some places you would able to see that and on that particular period itself, the people of other nations, they had temple and all. And temple will be located somewhere, and for that temple you need to walk and go, and you have to visit that. So these all are the understandings of the olden period. But when it is been come to the Israelite place, the Israel, where you could able to see Israelites, they doesn't had the temple practice at all. Earlier they have been following the altar worship, and then that have come to the, what's that, the tabernacle pattern. And when they have been in Canaan, again definitely they have been following the tabernacle pattern. Then Solomon, he is building the temple, that's a later period of time. But earlier, the Israelites people, they have been having the tabernacle pattern, and David wants to build a temple in the later part of time. And God is trying to tell, no, I don't want, have I asked you to build a temple? You could able to see this in 1 Chronicles chapter 17. Verses commencing from 3 to 5, you could able to see that God is speaking through the prophet Nathan, and God is asking Nathan, convey this to David. Have I asked him to build a temple? My dwelling place is in midst of the people. I am moving from one tent to other tent. My dwelling, is with the people, among the people. Now, have I asked you to build a temple? That is what the question of God. Earlier, see the understanding is like David, he is a king, and he's been living in a palace, and he may be thinking, I am living in a palace, in a very sophisticated way, and God should also be live like that. God's worship place should be like that, and how God can be behind the screens in the tabernacle, and that is not fair for God. That is what David is thinking and trying and approaching for the temple, but God says no. Why? Because God is asking through Nathan, like I am in midst of the people, and I am moving from one tent to other tent. The idea is like God is with the people. God is been dwelling with the people. It is not like God is somewhere, the temple is somewhere. You have to go. So the later part of time, the Israelites itself, they had the Samaritan woman, she is coming to Jesus and saying, oh Jesus, earlier we have been worshipping in the mountain, and now they have been asking us to come to Jerusalem. When the temple have come, she is asking to Jesus, and Jesus is telling to that woman, surely I tell you, the day is coming that you can worship God anywhere and everywhere. See, that is what Jesus is been trying to tell to that woman. But the older practice before the temple is also like that. See, the temple itself, what they say, some theologians, they try to say the temple pattern itself is being copied from the other nations. So in that connection, if you could able to see, earlier the God is being, God is living with the Israelites, God is dwelling among the Israelites, and it's not like an understanding God is somewhere, I need to go somewhere and worship God. It's not like that. Sometimes even today some Christians have this understanding. If I go to church, God is there. Now I can worship God there. No. So for worship, definitely I need to go to church. For prayer, I need to definitely go to church. So these all are the Christian mentality sometime. If I go to church only, I could able to seek the presence of God. This is a mentality of the Christian sometime. But it's not like that. Jesus have told the Samaritan woman, saying that the time is coming that you could worship God anywhere and everywhere. And that have been come already, and you could able to see and experience and pray, talk to God anytime, anywhere, wherever you are, in your home, in your workplace, in the time that you travel, in all the places that you could able to praise God, that you could able to pray to God, that you could able to talk to God. All things are possible now. But the Israelites people, they had this practice very earlier itself. We had when Jesus have died on the cross, and then the screen in the temple have been divided, and by that time we had this privilege. God have the enmity between the God and the human beings have been demolished, destroyed, forgived, and then human beings could have access to God directly, and God's presence is anywhere and everywhere. And earlier the understanding is like God's presence is in the temple. You need to go inside the temple. You need to go and give offering there. So these are the understandings were there in the olden period of time. But now, how it is like God is anywhere and everywhere. The same situation is been in the time of Israelites when they have started settling in Canaan and have settled in Canaan. See, it is like these Israelites, they could able to experience God anywhere and everywhere. See, it is like straight opposite to the other nation. It's like other nations have been having temple. These people, they doesn't have temple. They have screens. Behind that, God's presence was there, and God has been dwelling with the people. So they doesn't have, sometimes it seems like the Israelites, they also had the high priest tradition and all. It is like to project, to showcase how powerful and holy God is. And that is the only reason the high priest traditions and the God's holiness is being executed. If someone is been going inside the holies of holies, and definitely they will die. And there are certain rules and regulations to carry the covenant box and all. God have kept. Why? Because the human beings needs to understand the holiness of God. Unless and until they could not able to understand that, and they may be not having any sanctity, they not maybe having any reverence towards God. So that's the reason. It's not like God is asking us, sitting somewhere and asking us to walk for some particular distance, and asking to give sacrifice, this amount of sacrifice, this money you need to pay. These all are the not the rules and regulations of God. In the New Testament period, when Jesus have come, they are trying to do a kind of business activity in the temple. Then Jesus have got angry, and Jesus has been putting the tables down and trying to shout, not trying, definitely shouting and trying to, and Jesus is telling the place of prayer, my Father's house, but you have made something else. That is what Jesus has been telling. But that is the scenario that human beings have made a temple alike. It is the model of the other nations. But in Israel, the original setting is not like that. God's dwelling place is among the people. That is the straight opposite to the other nations. That's number one. And number two, the political view. Political, everywhere we have politics. Without politics there is nothing. So in the politics, sometime you could able to see that some leaders, they may be speaking like anything. If I come to power, and I will do this, I will do that, justice will be restored, I will not leave this, I will not leave that. When they come to power, sometimes they could not able to follow their words. That happens. And what they may be doing, they will keep some people, and some people will be behind them, getting all the benefits because of these leaders of the politics. And they try to praise the leaders like anything, and they try to create followers, and something to that extent they used to go like they will be justifying the leaders when the wrong actions have been done. They have been justifying the wrong actions for their leaders. See, it is like the scenario is entirely different. If you could able to see the Israelites' life, this is not a kind of practice they had. See, they had God as their king. There is no king. Israelites have come and settled in the promised land, Canaan, and they had no king. Rather, they have been asked to call God as the king. God is their king. So it's like God is just, God is having no partiality. Then everyone is approaching, God is being taking care, taking concern of the people, and God is their king. That is a kind of thing that you could able to see, to overcome all the problems in the power based political situation. Sometimes power comes, injustice starts happening, to maintain the power, to sustain the power. There are so many things sometime has to be done. And these things all are not present in the Israelites time period. Earlier, the other nations have been having on that particular time itself. They have king, they have monarchy, the kingdoms, the leader is being established, like they have different set of rules and regulations, how many people that he have killed and how much nations he have conquered, and with that count he may be counted as a king. And in that family, if someone comes, they will be consecrated as a king, and other people will be trying to subject them to that family, to that kingship rule. The monarchy is being present in such a way. But in Israel, there is nothing, no king. God has been separating the land through Joshua and making no king. God is the king for them. See, the Israelites, they had judges in some particular period of time, and there have been some leaders among them, but they are not subjected to the leaders. Rather, they have been subjected to the king, that is God. They have been subjected to God and not to the particular people who have been living with them. See, here today also we have some leaders, we have, we respect them. See, but the main thing what I am trying to tell is, it is like, you need to understand, God have given authority to the leaders. God have given, power. God have given, sometimes God have selected someone. So we respect them, but you need to think of there is a God above all. That's the main thing that, the Israelites people, that they could able to understand. When Israelites are slipping away from God's will and they have been away from God, God is asking, judges, God is bringing judges, so that, the Israelites people's, the problems will be solved, and, they may be going and fighting against the nation which is coming and trying to, control the Israelites. That have happened when these Israelites are away from God. When Israelites are okay with God and there is no need of judge again, there won't be a problem, first of all. If you have been following God, if you have been believing God all the time, and definitely God's actions are just, and there would not be any problem. When problem comes, one human, trying, to exploit someone, one human is trying, to take control of some other thing, that is how problem have come. Problem is being coming. It is like problems are coming, it is because of they doesn't have the mutual consent. Sometimes, problems are being coming. It is like, these are the people, they are not following the mark. They are not following the rules and regulations correctly. And that is how problem comes. If you have been obeying on God, if you have been having faith on God, if you have been, very passionately following God, believing God, putting your faith on God, then definitely you will not end up in any problem. You may be having a different picture. Oh, God is this much big and God has a great vision for me, so I need to travel on that way, and that would be the thing, and you will not be, end up in small problem, and there is no need of anyone to come and settle your problem. Sometimes you may be settling yourself and saying to God, oh God, take control of this, and then you move on, and God will give answer for you and for the particular person you have been met, you have been associated with. So this is the situation that these Israelites, they have been having. Their political situation is entirely different. No king, no power centered rule. There is no need of having or ensuring protection in the name of king. Earlier, it is like kingship rules have been, kingship or else the monarchy is being established, promising protection to the people. But here, God gives protection to his people. That is what the idea is. I am your king. I will take care of you. You need not to worry for anything. That is what God is trying to tell to the Israelites. In 1 Samuel chapter 8, they have been asking, we need a king. Why? Because all nations have been having, when we go to war, we need to have army, things, like that. So if a king is there, king will be all time working for that. Then God is saying, if you have been asking a king, the king will come and do this and that. King will do against you. He will take his son, your daughter, your good harvest in the field. People are saying, no, we want a king. That the king will do. The king will tell that I will take care of your protection. So you are subjected to me. That is what the basic idea of the kingship rule. But here God is the king for them. The people could able to live like anything. God will not come and, God is the king. That king will not come and take your son and daughter, for the army. If fight is needed, everyone can go and fight. God is with this particular people group, and there are so many strategies for God to win in the battle. That is what have happened in Jericho and so on. See, the political scenario is entirely different. God's understanding is entirely different. God's idea towards the people is entirely different. God has been protecting the people. See, the politics itself is like that. What is politics sometimes? Politics ensure lives. And here God says, I am there to ensure your life. I am here to ensure your life. That is what God is trying to tell to the people. And these Israelites have been following that for a very long period of time. They have been submitting their lives to God. They have been very keen in following the rules and regulations of God. Rejected the kings. Earlier in the Canaanite places, they had kings. But when Israelites have come and settled, Canaanites were living somewhere in the corners, and this, when Israel have become a great land, and that have become the corners. But even though it is like, it is like, these Israelites, they could able to reject king, in the name of protection or whatever it may be. I could able to look to God, and God is our king. That is what their voice, earlier. And that is what the author of Hebrews, he tries to tell. They ensured justice. It is like, they have been not going behind a human leader, and sometimes that human leader may do all kind of injustice. Sometimes that may not be known to their people itself, but here the Israelites, they accepted God, they accepted the actions of God, the ideas of God, plans of God through faith, and they could believe on God, for protection, for everything that the king could promise. God is telling, I am the king, I could promise anything and everything. And these people have been following, and that is what you could able to say, justice is being enforced. That is what the author of Hebrews tried to tell. That is how the justice is being enforced. Yeah. This is the political situation. And then the economic view. Economic view, it's much more interesting. Economic view is, it's not a simple thing, These Israelites, their religious view is different. They doesn't have temple, they need not to go anywhere. Rather, God is with them. And then the political view, they doesn't need any king. They don't need of any human leaders. Sometimes they had leaders, but their vision is beyond the leaders. They may be knowing there is a God who can control this leader also. That is their ideology, and that's number two. And now, in this two have some kind of connection. And now the economic view is being coming. This too supports the economic view again, the religious view, the political view, that supports and that strengthens, the economic view. See, economic view is like these people have been working, Israelites were working for 6 days in a week. And after 6 years, they will rest for a year. And when it's Jubilee, the 50th year, they will be celebrating Jubilee, they will be freeing everything. See, God's economic model is like everyone should be equal. See, it's like 6th day they rest, 6th day, 6 days they work, 7th days they rest. And 6 years they work, 7th year is the rest. And 50th year they have to be free everything. See, sometimes someone have lost his land, he have become a slave. He have so many debts, and with that he have become a slave. Definitely, this man should be free, and the lands and all should be given back. Then God is been ensuring justice, equality. It's like everyone is equal. And you may be thinking, oh, no, someone has done some wrong. I have given money to him. His land have come to me. No, he could not able to pay that, and now he have become a slave. And why I have to free them? That would be the human mentality. And they save everything, and they give to their family, and to their relatives, and they enjoy. And one particular group will be growing and growing. They will be getting richer and richer, and some particular group will be going down and down. And when next 2 or 3 generations comes, the group which has been gone up, they will come down. 60, 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, the group which have gone up, they will come down. The group which is down, it will go up. This is the world, thing which happens, obviously. But what God is trying to do, God is trying to establish an economic model so that everyone is equal. When 50th year is coming, restore everything, give back everything. That is what the God's model is. God's model is giving back everything to the people who have lost. And the people who have gained out of that, they need not to be feared of, to give it back again. God is telling, if you follow my commandments, I will bless you. See, they are working for only 6 days in a week compared to other nations may be working for 7 days. And these Israelites have been working only for 6 days. And 7th year they are typically taking rest for a year. But meanwhile, they could able to enjoy all the blessings from God. It's not like, believing on the work. Rather, their belief is on the God. Their faith is on the God. Their faith is not on the work that they do. See, that reflects. See, sometimes if you ask some people, to stay quiet for a day, they could not. They may be saying, if I have to do this, I have to do that. If I have done that, then this will come. This money I have to put there. I have to invest here. I have to take that. I have to give it to to someone. And these are the different things. Some people, they could not able to sit for a while. Some people, they could not able to work for anything. That's a different story. They won't work. All time they will be sitting like anything. But I am talking about some particular people. They will be working for all the time, and they say, this is the good thing that you have to do. You need to work for all the time. It's like you can work, nothing wrong in it. But if you have been working for all the time, that denotes that you have been putting your faith on your work, not on God. See, you can work, there's nothing wrong in it. But your faith should be on God. On 6th day you have been worked, and 7th day you have been taking rest. It is like you are putting your faith on God and you have been resting. You have been leaving your land. You are not doing any actions. And you have been resting. It's like, oh God, I put my faith on you. I put my faith on you. There is nothing else that I could able to put my faith on. Rather, you are the only one. So that I could able to put my faith only on you. And that is being described. And that is the action. See, where they have kept their faith, and that is being shown out to the people through their work. If you have been working for all the day, all the time, they have been believing only on their work. If they have been believing on God, definitely they could able to follow this commandment. Like, observe Sabbath. And then, Sabbath year, Jubilee year. If they could able to follow that, if they could able to give what they have earned, that's a good sign that they have been having faith on God. See, this is the just thing. This is the justice that they have enforced. They are treating everyone as equal. Someone have lost. Someone have borrowed. The money has been gone. The land has been gone. You have become slaves. The Jubilee here, you have to return everything. And then that is how he is treating his fellow human beings as equal and practicing justice. That is what the author of Hebrews tries to tell. Enforced justice, through faith. So in their religious view, again, they are having a set of different rules and regulations that is just. God is with them. And the political view, again, it is a kind of just thing. It's like God is their king and giving protection and taking care of everything. And the economic view, again, they have been releasing, they are making free, the fellow human beings who have lost everything, cancelling the debts, and so on. See, this shows the Israelites people are quite different from other nations. Other nations may be thinking, oh, what happened? What happened? These Israelites are working only for 6 days and they have been, growing like anything. See, that's God's blessing. See, it's like if you have been enforcing justice, definitely all the good things will come and follow you. So that is what earlier I told. You need to think of your life. What ideology that have molded you. What concept have molded you. See, if you have been open, if you have been following up the rules and regulations of the Bible, believing and putting your faith on God, and definitely, God's blessing will come and follow you. It is not like, I need to be more conscious, I need to be more cunning. It's not like that. I need to be more aggressive. It's not like that. It is like being kind. And it is not like I'm telling you should become weak, you should not have anything, leave everything, go somewhere. It's not like that. So what we are trying to tell, it is like put your faith on God and treat fellow human beings as equal. Follow the just thing which God have given to you. Mold yourself on that, and then definitely God's blessing will come and follow you. See, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. Then everything will come and follow you. The thing is, God's righteousness and God's kingdom, this is the only thing that we need to seek of. There is no other thing. Putting our faith on God, putting our lives on God. That is the main important thing. that will help us to establish justice. That will help us to establish God's kingdom in our lives. And that will bring blessings to you. It is not like preaching blessing all the time. If I tell God's blessing will come on you, for 1,000 times if I say also, God's blessing will not come and reach you. Why? Because you have built your barriers for yourself. So try to break all those barriers and try to look onto the scripture, what scripture is saying, and in what extent the scripture is calling us to be, open-minded. Think of that way and be an open-minded person. Break the barriers that you have. Break the ideological conflicts that which has been making you to go away from God. Break the ideological barriers which makes you to treat the Christianity as a religion. So if you could able to try to do all these things, then definitely, God's blessing will come and follow you. Your actions will not put in vain. So be encouraged. God's blessing be upon you all. Amen.